All right. Getting everything rocking and rolling here. Welcome, everybody, to the Art of Healing with your host, Dr. Judy Jasek of Animal Healing Arts and Matt Rowe of ParsleyPet. During our show, we are talking about your pet's health, raw feeding, and alternative treatments for cancer, unexplained illnesses, and supporting your pet's natural ability to heal. Welcome, Dr. Judy, to this week's show.
Thanks, Matt. Always happy to be here.
Yep, this actually, I'm looking forward to this show for multiple reasons of just doing a show with you and getting, these unbelievable knowledge and wisdom. But we are talking about something that's very poignant and very important as we step into summer, and this is heat. And we're talking about heat today and how it affects our dogs and what we can do to overcome some of the heat issues and how to recognize it when it does happen and how to avoid these cases, because heat is extremely harmful for your pet as it is for ourselves. When you have an oversupply or if you get overheated, we can have heat stroke and we end up some of that type of stuff. So in dogs, Dr. Judy, where do we take a look at for dogs? And we can talk about, we can go at any angle. Is what events should we be aware of, like hiking, in the car, that type of stuff? And what are some signs that we can pay attention to and see with our dog if they are becoming overheated?
Yeah, so I think one real important thing to realize in starting this is how dogs cool their body. So people, we sweat. We can literally sweat all over our body. So when we get too hot, our skin sweats and it becomes moist, and then you get this evaporative cooling. So, if you're sweating, I do a lot of hiking. You're on the trail, you're hot, you're sweating, you stop under a tree, there's a cool breeze, you cool down right away. Well, dogs don't do that. They don't sweat. Maybe a little bit on the bottom of their feet, but that's not really releasing any body heat, or it's not helping to cool the body. They primarily cool through panting. And so if you think about it, you have a dog covered in a fur coat. They don't take their fur coats off, right? And some dogs have heavy fur coats. Some dogs are meant to live in cold climates. Your Newfoundlands and St. Bernards and even Huskies, dogs like German Shepherds, they have a lot of fur. And that's insulating their bodies, and it's preventing heat from being released. So the only place in their body they can do this sort of evaporative cooling is through panting. And it's not really a very efficient system at all. And so one of the key signs, if your dog is really warm, is they will pant. Now, some panting is normal. You're out for a walk, it's a warm day, they're going to be panting. But I think it's always important that you have water for your dog, because they get that panting, they get very, very, very dehydrated. And then that can actually make the heat worse because the volume of their circulatory system is going down. So you always want to make sure that you have water for your dog. And they have these cool little collapsible bowls now. You can stick in whatever, pack you carry when you take your dog out. And if it's, you're going for a 20-minute short walk in the evening, probably not a big deal. If you're hitting the trail and you're going to be out for half a day, and another important thing too about getting out and hiking is know the trails. Go on trails where you're following a creek, or at least there's a number of creek crossings. So you can go online, you can look up trail descriptions, you can pull out maps. Be aware that things change seasonally. Creeks that are running in the spring may not be running in the fall. A lot of creeks and streams run now this time of year because the snow is melting here in Colorado, but they will dry up by the end of the year. And so be aware of where you're taking your dog. And if it's a warm day, make sure there's water, because dogs will actually just climb in a creek and cool off. They'll just get in there and lay and cool off their bellies. And so that's something else you can do. If your dog gets real hot, and one sign that your dog is overheating, if you're on a walk or a hike, is they aren't going to want to move, or you're going to pass a shade tree and they're going to lay down and say, no, I need to lay here and cool off. And if they do that, you should be letting your dog cool off, because they're definitely overheating. You can, if you have some extra water with you, you can spray their belly kind of in between their hind legs, where the fur usually isn't quite as thick, and in their armpits. Just, spray some water on there. You can even have a little spray bottle and just spritz a little water, or sprinkle a little water on them. If you can't get them to a creek, a little bit just on the inside of their ears, not in the ear, but on the inside of the pinna, just to help them cool off. And then again, of course, plenty of water for them to drink.
Mm-hmm. Now, how much water should a dog be drinking? So, for example, if I bring a bottle of water and we're out for, let's say, a 5-hour hike in the heat, let's say it's 85 degrees, 90 degrees out, I'm hiking in the summertime, sun exposure is, we're getting sun most of the day where there's not a lot of shade. Now, my dog is going to show signs of, I want to drink, because that heavy panting starts to happen. And when we want to drink, it's pretty typical. I turn to Leo and say, okay, time for you to have a drink too. But how much should we prepare for how much water should we carry? Said differently.
I would think, it's going to vary with the individual dog, of course, and how hydrated they were getting started. But I would say for a good sized dog, say, 50 to 80 pound, kind of your typical large outdoor dog, I'd take at least a quart of water for them, and then realize that you need water for yourself and your family and whoever else is hiking with you. But I would say for a good sized dog, at least a quart of water.
Okay. And possibly even a little bit more if you want to, like you said, put some on the undercoat of their belly, just to cool them off a little bit more.
Yeah. If you're going to be doing that, you could go through a couple cups of water just doing that. So that's super important.
So definitely preparing as much as you can to make sure that they are getting as much water as possible, because like you said, if they are overheated, they'll stop. They don't want to go anymore. They know that this is coming up, this, that lightheaded feeling that we receive when we become overheated. I would imagine your dog is going through a similar experience. And so for them to stop it, they stop going forward, and they stop moving.
And dogs with the short noses, the brachycephalic breeds, so your boxers, dogs like that don't have the long noses, they have a lot less space in their respiratory tract, so they actually will overheat a lot easier. So you have to be really careful with those breeds, as opposed to your longer nose breeds like your German Shepherds or Labradors.
Okay. So really it's breed specific as well, as when you're starting to bring that amount of water with them. Also, I've heard that certain dogs, like a Great Dane, as big as they are, they're not meant to walk over a mile. They're more of that gigantic apartment dog that taking them out on, let's say, a 3, 4, 5 mile hike could actually be harder on them.
Yeah, well, they have bigger bodies. So you got to think their bodies are supporting, all their bones and joints are supporting, sometimes 150 to 180 pounds of body weight. And they're not really built to be that athletic. You're right. They're sort of these gentle giants that like to lay around, they'll hang out, but they're not ones that run. Like some big breeds, like your Irish wolfhounds, are actually sight hounds, are actually in the same class of hounds as greyhounds are, and they will get out and run. Those dogs are designed to run, but really just for shorter distances. If they see something, they will go chase it. They're not really designed to be going for 5-10 mile hikes either. They're not necessarily endurance breeds like your hunting breeds that are literally bred to be out in the field working all day.
Yeah. Like your smaller, blue heelers, border collies, that type of stuff, where they're constantly in movement back and forth. So it's really knowing your dog as well, getting to know how far you can go. So For example, if you're taking your kids on a hike or you're taking a loved one on a hike with you, you're going to be cognizant of how far they can go. You know, let's say you've been hiking for 10 years and then you take somebody that's never hikes out on a new hike and you take them on a large 10-mile trail. Holy cow, they're not going to want to go on a hike up with you again. And
Right.
so your dog is the same way. And we're coming off of winter where we tend to be a little bit more sedentary. So for those that haven't hiked with their dogs all winter long, you know, taking a big step towards this, start small again and take those little precautionary of enough water and enough things that can actually, you know, we talked last week about what treats to bring on a hike and what to kind of do to help them, you know, really be able to keep up and feel good on the hike. So they want to go with you every time. Right. So hiking and exercise and all that stuff is great. We highly recommend it. Take your dog out, go have fun with them, just prepare. But what happens if I'm driving around and I have some errands I need to run and I've got Leo in the car with me? He's short fur. I don't worry about him overheating too much, but you know, we're starting to get warmer. Let's say, you know, it's 85 degrees. It doesn't seem hot to me. And I step out of the car for what I have planned for a 5-minute quick in and out. Should I do that?
I would say that's risky. I would park in the shade, you know, if you needed to do errands. So I'll do this. I have my dogs and I just want to run into the store really quick. I know it won't be more than 10 minutes. And you need to be aware that if you're going into the store, you know, you run into your neighbor or somebody, you know, and you start talking, remember that you've got dogs in your car. But I will always look for shade just because all cars, they just turn into ovens in no time. I mean, if you want to prove this out, just try sitting in your car on an 85-degree day with all the windows up. I mean, hopefully if your dog's in there, you're cracking the window, but even so, you're not getting a lot of air movement most days unless there's a good breeze coming through. And if the car is sitting in the sun, it isn't going to help cool it very much. If you can park in the shade where at least the dogs are out of that direct sun coming in the car, then I think you can probably get away with that. You definitely want to crack the windows a little bit, allow a little bit of airflow. But you know, anytime the outside temp starts to get above 70, cars can get really, you got to think that your car is going to easily gain 20 degrees. So could be 70 outside, that inside of your car could be 90 degrees in 20 minutes, really easily. It gets hot.
Yeah. That's terrifying too, knowing that we're going to be starting to hit some 90-degree days coming in, and especially what parts of the country that you're in, you could already be experiencing those 90-degree days now, but in the sun, your car could reach temperatures of 110, 120 degrees inside.
Yeah. And you know, the same things we talked about for the hiking is make sure you have some water in there and some cool water. You know, you don't want to be giving your dog water out of a water bottle that was sitting in your 90-degree car. You know, it's going to be hard for him to drink. I've done that. Like I have left my water bottle and go take to drink it. It's like hot, like drinking hot tea or something.
Yeah, exactly.
So have a little cooler, maybe just with a little bit of extra water in there. And again, that's that spray bottle. I have a friend who's a dog walker and she takes her dogs around with her to her jobs sometimes, but when it gets warm, she has a big spray bottle and she just keeps spraying her dogs off just to keep them, you know, cool. Just leave a, you know, spray bottle in your car and you could spritz your dogs off like that. I remember one time seeing, it was really sad. I think all these puppies ended up surviving, but boy, they were so hot. It was a whole litter of puppies and they're real furry, like a husky mix or Malamute mix or something. And they'd left them in the back of a truck. It was in a pickup and they'd kind of gone like the back of the truck was built with like cubbies and stuff. And the puppies had kind of gone in under a small space and came in. And I remember, you know, taking their temperatures and they're like 106, 107, really high temperatures. And, you know, what do puppies tend to do? They like to snuggle. They like to be close to each other. That's how they feel comfort. Well, you get, you know, 5 or 6 furry puppies in a ball in a hot truck. I mean, they're not cooling at all. And puppies
Yeah.
have even less ability to cool. So I think you have to be even more careful with puppies because their systems are just not as developed. It's just like a child, every year you hear these heartbreaking stories of
Hmm.
children being left in hot cars and dying.
Hmm.
They don't have any way of cooling themselves, especially if they're strapped in the seat, so it's
Yeah.
very, very, very tragic. But yeah, you really have to be aware that, you might be a little inconvenienced and, might need to take your dog home or not run certain
Hmm.
errands when your dog's in the car. But that is just super important. And I've
Yeah.
also had people people will see dogs in a car
Hmm.
and call animal control. So
Hmm.
actually they will come and fine you if somebody reports that you've got a dog in a hot car.
Yep.
People will call, and justifiably so, and report
Hmm.
that, and animal control will come and fine you. So
Yeah.
be aware there can be other consequences too.
You made a great point that at some point, if you know you have a lot of errands to run, leave your dog at home. It's
Oh,
going to have a much better time at home. As cool as it is to bring your dog to like walk him around Home Depot or to, walk him into certain stores, not all of them, and have your puppy with you as you're going around running errands. It's great, but know what errands you need to run and how long you plan on being in there, and identifying too, like you said, is there a shady place to park?
yeah.
Can I leave my windows down? Can I, have my dog feel as comfortable as they can during this journey? Because if it's not going to be comfortable for them, it becomes a nightmare. It
Yeah.
becomes the, oh my God, I'm trapped now in something in a oven. And then, at some point, the best thing you could do is just leave them at home for
Yeah.
that short period of time that you're going
Ab-
to go out.
Absolutely. And sometimes you gotta, drive a little bit. Again, there's been times
Mhm.
I just really wanted to make a stop, and I might have to park a couple parking lots away, to find a tree
Mhm.
someplace where
Mhm.
my dogs won't be in that direct sun. So,
Right.
make a few sacrifices for your pet. Don't let them get too hot.
Yep. So, what are some other signs that you see when a dog becomes overheated? So, they're stopping, they're panting a lot. Is there any other signs that we could help the audience out and make them aware of?
Well, if they get hot enough, they'll get disoriented. You hear
Okay.
about people getting heat stroke. Well, the same
Hmm.
thing can happen, with dogs where they may not be able to get up. They may end up in a state of collapse. They can
Okay.
go into shock. If Because the body is meant to operate at a certain temperature. And if the
Hmm.
temperature goes up above a certain point for too long and they can't get it cool, the cells in the body literally start to die.
Yeah.
And now the body has a lot of ability to regenerate, true. But you get to a point where too
Hmm.
many cells die off all at once, that they may not be able to survive that. That's an
Right.
extreme case. But literally their bodies, if they're too hot for too long, their body will start to shut down and they'll get
Hmm.
disoriented and maybe, like I said, literally can't get up. It's not that they just don't want to. It's like they literally can't get up and keep moving.
Right. Okay. So now let's say a situation happens that I'm in that grocery store. I plan on being there for 5 minutes, and then I bump into a neighbor and I'm there for 20 minutes and I forget about my loved one in the car. And I get out to the car. I've identified that, holy cow, they won't stand up. They've got heat issues. What are some things that I can do to help them immediately? And then should I go seek veterinary assistance and care immediately for
Yeah.
them?
Yeah, you definitely want to get on the way to the vet, because
Mhm.
things like IV fluids, supportive care. So at that point, like I was saying, they literally can be going into shock. So they might
Right.
need treatment, emergency treatment for shock. But again, the cooling, spray down their bellies, spray
Mhm.
down, obviously, open up the car, get the air conditioner going, spray them down, have your spray bottle there, spray in between their hind legs and in their armpits, and
Mhm.
get them a drink of water if they're able to drink. So work on getting them cool, and then you definitely want to get them in and get them examined and possibly treated for shock if necessary.
Mm. Yeah. I mean, I just keep thinking about myself, and I'm going to, from the selfish side, man, if I get overheated, the last thing I want to do is continue in that overheating cycle. I want to exit it, and then I want to get as cool as fast as possible. Could I cool off my dog too fast by a swing in body temperature? So for example, like I flip on the air conditioners, the car goes from 110 degrees to 70 or 60 degrees in the car. Is that bad for them?
Probably moving air is okay. I wouldn't take a overheated dog and put him in like an ice bath or
Okay.
something like that. The spraying the water, cooling them gradually that way, and getting cool air moving around there where there's that air movement, that would help. And I think that would be fine. I don't think you'd cool them too quickly doing that, but you don't want to take an overheated dog and go, throw them in an icy creek or an icy mountain lake or something like that. Maybe get their feet wet. You can start gradually, just put them in, let them get their feet wet, let them have a drink, and slowly wet. Most dogs will sort of lie down in a creek for a while if they're really warm, get up, move around, lie down again. So you can just give them some freedom to do what, their body is telling them that they need.
Yep. So if you're out on that hike and you're hiking around and you notice, wow, my dog's starting to overheat, I'm running out of water, is you basically go out and you seek the creek, or you seek where you can go. And, if your hike needs to be cut short, it gets cut short because you have your loved one that you're walking with.
Take them back. And, again, do your homework. I mean, I see so many dogs out on trails that I know have no water, because I hike, the local trails. I hike them all the time. Right. I know where the water is. And I see people all the time out on these really hot, dry trails where there's no water, there's no creek, and you can take water for your dog to drink. But again, if it's a really warm, it's a 90-degree day, your dog may not be able to stay cool if you can't get them out of the sun and into some water, into the shade.
Do you ever see them not drink water if they're overheated?
I think if they got overheated to a certain point, because they also get nauseous, if their body really starts to suffer, they might get to the point where they're just feeling nauseous, or they're too out of it to drink, in which case that's when they would need the emergency care, the IV fluids, things like that, to get them rehydrated.
Okay. Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's all extremely important, especially with everything coming up, and summer's going to happen. This is going to be a warm summer. I mean, we're going to be looking at some high temperatures and that type of stuff. And so,
and people are out and about this year. Last year, more people were home. Now, everybody's been sitting home, is going to want to get out and about a little bit more with their dogs.
Yep. Exactly. And, and take care of them. Is if you think that there is risk that it's going to be too warm and that you might leave them in the car too much, leave them at home, because I know there are some pet parents out there now that are breaking windows. So for example, if they see a hot dog in a car and they can't get to animal control, or the animal control can't get there fast enough, they'll break the car window to give some relief to the dog. Rightfully so.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, you have an incredible animal that is just in pain and suffering. So your best bet is to leave them at home through that and allow them to, enjoy their home, and then come back. And, if they want to go for a car ride, you can take them for a different car ride, or you're going to have to adjust your lifestyle. I mean, this is we made the decision to bring a dog into our lives and into our homes and into our stories that we all have. And because of that, it does have some responsibilities. We may have to change our habits or change our life a little bit to adjust to having a dog with us and having a loved one with us. And that's just some of the reality that I think that we're faced with, especially with heat, because heat happens so fast. I know for Leo, he'll get overheated really fast. And he actually starts to dig, and he wants to dig a hole to lay in the dug hole.
Because it's cooler. Yeah. Cooler beneath the surface of the ground. Yeah, absolutely.
he's smart. He tries
I know.
everything he can. But if his dumb dad has got him locked in a car and not allowing him to get water or to cool himself off, that's on me. I mean,
Yeah.
that's my responsibility because I'm the human. I'm the one that drove the car, that invited him into the car to go
We're
with
supposed to be the smart ones, right?
me. We are supposed to be the smart ones.
It's
But
always
even
true, but we're supposed
yeah.
to be.
Yeah, we're supposed to be, but I think in our excitement, we want to go enjoy our lives with our dogs, which is great. Go to the stores that allow you to take a dog in with you, like a Home Depot.
Yeah.
Take him with, have the joy of that. Grocery store, leave him at home. He doesn't need to be wandering around, doesn't need to be sitting in a car while you shop, because he doesn't notice the difference, or she doesn't notice the difference between being at home or being in a hot car, besides the heat that is potentially going to hit them hard. And so keep your dog healthy this summer, and, take the time to understand that, yeah, they don't sweat like Dr. Judy started the show with. They sweat by panting. And a short-nosed dog overheats faster than a long-nosed dog. So in all of those cases, this is just something, just really important, preventable situations that we can basically provide for our loved one.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. So thank you, Dr. Judy, for this week's show. This was awesome. When you look at heat, this is something that, I think about every once in a while when I'm driving Leo around in the car. Oh, could I just step in there real quick? It's only going to be 5 minutes. And I justify. But I've got to let logic play out and say, okay, how hot is it? Is there shade? Can I leave the windows open? How long am I going to be in there? How hot, potentially is it going to get? If it's going to increase 20 degrees and it's 70 out, I know that car is going to be 90 degrees when I step into it.
Yeah, right.
So
be careful. Use your common sense, and don't let yourself, don't let yourself be talked into doing something that you might regret.
Yes, absolutely. If anybody wants to get a hold of Dr. Judy and get a telemedicine appointment for any case, so if your dog was just diagnosed with cancer or it's going through an illness and you really want to have somebody to talk to, down below in the show notes is Dr. Judy's website address, and definitely book a telemedicine appointment with her. If you're looking for a new vet in the Colorado area and you want somebody that is going to take time and listen to you and give your dog the care that you so desperately want to make sure you give them, definitely become a new patient of Dr. Judy's. I highly recommend it. And if you ever want to know if you're feeding your dog the right way, have a nutritional blueprint conducted through ParsleyPet, because that we can tell you down parts per billion what nutrients your dog is deficient in, has too much in, or are they just absolutely perfect in what they're doing. So thank you again, Dr. Judy, for this week's show.
No problem, Matt. My pleasure.
All right. We'll see you guys all soon, and we'll see you all next week.
Bye, everybody.